Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
As the clock counts down to a government shutdown, Congress is mourning the loss of one of its own. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. California Senator Dianne Feinstein passed away overnight at her home in Washington, D.C. She was 90 years old. KPBS reporter MG Perez has more on the life and legacy of the longest-serving female senator in U.S. history.
It was a moment that changed everything, that San Francisco night in November 1978.
As president of the Board of Supervisors, it's my duty to make this announcement. Both Mayor Moscone and Supervisor Harvey Milk have been shot and killed.
Dianne Feinstein's young political career took a piercing pivot, triggered by gun violence and assassinations.
Where she took office largely got her national attention because of a shooting in San Francisco.
Carl Luna is a political science professor at both Mesa Community College and the University of San Diego. He has followed Feinstein's journey from mayor of San Francisco to her more than 3 decades in the U.S. Senate and the ongoing struggle for gun control.
In the 90s, she gets the assault rifle ban passed, which disappears now. We are in an age of almost unfettered weapon possession. Political violence or threat of violence is on the rise. That she went from San Francisco and the shootings at City Hall to the storming of the Capitol.
On social issues, Senator Feinstein was called a liberal lioness, a fierce ally of the LGBT community, showing leadership in the fight against AIDS, and an initial sponsor of the historic legislation legalizing same-sex marriage. San Diego's gay community is mourning the loss of a champion, and San Diego Pride Executive Director Fernando Lopez says her replacement must continue her legacy.
We're looking at an attack on voting rights, an attack on reproductive choice, an attack on communities of color and the LGBT community. So we really need someone right now who can represent all of California, all of America, and make sure that our freedoms and democracy are protected.
That includes California's Hispanic community. Roberto Alcantar is board president of Southwestern College.
She had a presence here in San Diego. She had a local office. So that just showed me the dedication that she had for our community, whether it was border-related issues, whether it was education, whether it was, supporting some of the most marginalized communities. She was there, and her team was always there for us.
Earlier this year, Senator Feinstein announced she would not be running for re-election. Her death cut short her current Senate term. But her legacy, from rainbows to rifles and real social justice, lives on. MG Perez, KPBS News.
Governor Newsom will appoint an interim senator to the office. Newsom has already said that he would name an African-American woman. Carl Luna says Shirley Weber, a San Diegan who is currently Secretary of State, is considered to be on the short list. And we have more on Dianne Feinstein and what's next for California's representation in the Senate. Our coverage includes a discussion on today's KPBS Roundtable, which you can stream as a podcast. And later in this newscast, we'll go into the archives for part of a conversation that Senator Feinstein had with KPBS during one of her past re-election campaigns. With a looming government shutdown, thousands of active military members, Border Patrol agents, and other federal employees will go without pay. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer looks at what that means for San Diego County.
The U.S. government is set to shut down on Sunday, October 1st, unless Congress manages to strike a last-minute agreement to pass a dozen spending bills. It could cause
very significant consequences for our district, for our entire region, and for the whole country.
District 49 Congressman Mike Levin says those consequences include working without pay for more than 1 million military service members, including those at bases around San Diego County. Camp Pendleton is in Levin's district.
I know that there are many junior enlisted Marines who are living paycheck to paycheck. I know that the basic allowance for housing that they receive is inadequate and that it's very expensive to live in our region. And missing a paycheck is devastating to them and to their families.
If the shutdown happens, organizations like the Armed Services YMCA are there to support San Diego military families for any issues they encounter, whether it's general finances, child care assistance, or food insecurity.
We're looking at calendar of services, making sure that there are no gaps, that we're adjusting dates of food distribution and other resources to make sure that for however long this lasts, that military families in the San Diego community will have what they need.
The shutdown would also impact other federal employees, like federal transportation workers. That could mean more delays at the airport. In a statement, a TSA spokesperson said, "It's very, very hard for anybody to go for 20 days, 30 days, 40 days or longer without receiving a paycheck. It impacts the ability of people to get to work or pay to put gas in their vehicles, to pay for parking. It impacts their ability to pay the individuals that provide care for their children." And there's one more worry for a border region like San Diego. Levin says staff shortages among federal workers would make it harder to process an influx of migrants.
This will cost the paychecks of thousands and thousands of our Border Patrol, of our CBP, including in the San Diego region at a time when many are understaffed as it is.
A government shutdown would also affect national parks and some healthcare programs. While its effects are wide-ranging, this is nothing new. The United States has experienced 21 gaps in government funding since 1976. The last one was also one of the longest, 35 days, from late December 2018 into January of 2019. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
This weekend is round 2 of a major freeway project affecting drivers through downtown San Diego. Northbound lanes of Interstate 5 will begin to close at 9 p.m. tonight. Lanes will be reduced starting at the National City Mile of Cars exit. There will be a series of lane restrictions and closures from there until State Route 163. Caltrans is working on repairs to the bridge deck in that area. All lanes are scheduled to reopen early Monday morning. This year was a wet one, and California's water year is ending tomorrow with higher than average rainfall numbers and very little drought. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson has details.
The winter was notable because of a series of storms that repeatedly drenched the region.
We had 13 atmospheric rivers in Southern California, and because of that, largely, now at San Diego, at the airport officially, we are just shy of 16 inches. Our normal, to put it in context, is about 9.5 inches.
Alex Tardy with the National Weather Service says that puts San Diego's average rainfall year from October 1st to the end of September among the 15 wettest since records have been kept. Tardy says the northern and eastern parts of the county were much wetter. Escondido, Vista, and Oceanside all recorded top 3 rankings for a year's worth of rain.
There was only a couple days of break between each rainfall. Each storm lasted 2 or 3 days, with the majority of the rain occurring just in 1 day or less.
Rainfall totals also got a boost when Tropical Storm Hillary rolled through the region in August. That storm dropped about 2 inches of rain at the airport, with some mountain regions getting more than 6 inches of water in just 1 day. The U.S. Drought Monitor is showing something not seen very much recently. More than 90% of the state is drought-free. But drought watchers say the wet weather probably isn't the beginning of a long-term trend.
So the last 20 years have been more drought-prone than any of the 20-year periods since 1895.
Predicting what will happen next year is difficult. Forecasters are eyeing a building El Niño condition in the Pacific Ocean that can lead to intense storms like in 1997 or drought like in 2015. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
The country is on the verge of the largest ever healthcare worker strike. More than 75,000 workers say they'll walk off of the job starting on Wednesday if they can't reach a deal with Kaiser Permanente this weekend. And that includes 4,500 employees here in San Diego. Their union is demanding pay raises, job protections against subcontractors, and higher staffing levels. Kaiser released a statement saying they would continue to bargain in good faith until a fair and equitable agreement is reached. The United Auto Workers workers' strike is growing. Today, the union added 2 more car plants to its list of factories where workers are picketing. Laura Aguirre has the latest.
We are fed up with corporate greed.
The United Auto Workers Union president greenlighting another wave of walkouts Friday.
I'm calling on an additional 7,000 members across Ford and GM to go on strike.
The expansion impacts a Ford assembly plant in Chicago and a GM factory in Lansing, Michigan.
Ford and GM have refused to make meaningful progress at the table.
Ford's CEO responded to that claim in an online media call.
The deal we offered would put our UAW workers among the best paid hourly manufacturing jobs in the world and in the top 30% of all full-time workers in America of any industry. And the benefits are absolutely top tier, as you can see.
Stellantis, which owns Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, was spared in this round.
Stellantis made significant progress on the 2009 cost of living allowance, the right not to cross a picket line, as well as the right to strike over product commitments and plant closures and outsourcing moratoriums.
But progress is not a done deal, and overall divisions remain over key issues like wage increases, pension plans, cost of living raises, and forced overtime.
We all got families, bills. We just trying to survive. We just trying to make it.
I'm still very hopeful that we can reach a deal that reflects the incredible sacrifices and contributions our members have made over the last decade.
I'm Laura Aguirre for KPBS News.
Gas prices are up again, now putting San Diego's average at $6.25 for a gallon of regular, and that's according to AAA. We've seen an increase locally in all but 2 of the past 25 days. AAA says the average is up 88 cents in the past month and are now as high as they've been since last October. A bit of good news for energy prices is the bill credit coming to SDG&E customers. SDSU's Miro Kopik has more on that and how a government shutdown will affect California in the Friday Business Report.
In the last 50 years, there have been 21 government shutdowns, but the longest one was in 2019. It lasted 34 days. But in this last decade, we've had a lot of government shutdowns. In fact, in the last administration, there were 3. 2 were very short, and 1 was the long one. In 2013, we had a shutdown that lasted 16 days. Back in 1995-96, a shutdown that lasted 21 days. This impacts California a little bit disproportionately because on 2 fronts. One is around education. Almost 90% of the Department of Education is going to be furloughed. And for California and the large number of universities, this means federal grants for research will be stopped or slowly administered. The FAFSA, which is being revised for student loans, may be delayed. And then importantly, you have something like in the case of University of California, that system provides a lot of health care for Medi-Cal and Medicare patients. Those payments will be delayed. Decisions on certain medical procedures will be delayed. The National Park Service was substantially impacted in the last shutdown, which is in 2019. And this really impacts places like Yosemite. San Diego Gas and Electric ratepayers are going to receive a $60.70 credit. Every consumer, every ratepayer will receive that credit, and they don't have to do anything to receive it. It's automatic. It's part of the California Climate Credit Program. Why this is really important for consumers today is because right now, almost 25% of San Diego Gas and Electric ratepayers are behind on their payments. And we have to look at this in context, for San Diego, that we're going to see water rates increase by double digits in the next couple of months, and that was approved last week. And then on top of it, we're seeing gas prices return to those record levels. So every little bit is going to help consumers with their general utility payments overall.
And you can also find the Friday Business Report on our YouTube page, and that's also where we live stream KPBS Evening Edition weeknights at 5. And be sure to subscribe and get notifications for new content that's posted daily.
Well, we have a lot of big weather headlines for us this weekend, and just kind of dialing it into the big 3. returning much cooler. That's something that we're all going to experience. Many of us will also notice some rain showers, patchy drizzle for some, but even some actual rain showers arriving. And a lot of us are going to have to use the windshield wipers at times this weekend, maybe a little earlier than some might expect. This is a little ahead of the typical arrival of the wet season. And this is not the arrival of the wet season, but it is a little bonus rain on the front end. And it'll be a windy weekend, especially in those inland areas. Big, deep trough across the west, unseasonably cool. We're warm and summer-like in the central U.S., but cool and wetter in the interior west and even up to the coast here. Temperatures are running below average, so almost feeling a little bit more like November for some. So overnight tonight, spotty showers into areas around San Diego. There are wind advisories in effect for areas from Borrego Springs and Pine Valley east across the interior of our area. Will not be as windy, though, for the coast. And you can see it's going to be an off and on shower situation for the coastline and even some areas within maybe a few dozen miles of the coast up into the west-facing slopes of the mountains on Saturday. So how about this? You can see it's not going to be widespread heavy rain, but these little spits of rain and scattered showers will be out there at times. At any rain this early in the season is a bonus. So at the coastal areas here Saturday and Sunday, a little bit of shower action, especially late Saturday into Sunday. Temperatures down. We'll bounce back up into the warmer upper 70s Tuesday and Wednesday with some sunshine. Inland areas, a little bit of rain shower activity within a few dozen of miles of the coast, a little bit inland as well. So that'll be beneficial. Into the mountains, much cooler, only a 47-degree high. Downright cold for this time of the year on Sunday, bouncing back into the upper 50s Tuesday and Wednesday. And the deserts, it's going to be breezy here and warm, but not nearly as warm as we would typically be this time of the year. So pleasantly comfortable. 74 Sunday, back into the upper 80s and low 90s for Tuesday and Wednesday. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Jeff Cornish.
Chula Vista will hold its first ever arts festival tomorrow. KPBS South Bay and Imperial Valley reporter Corey Suzuki says the event is part of the city's efforts to strengthen the South Bay's arts community.
The courtyard outside of Chula Vista City Hall is normally a pretty quiet place. There's an open lawn, rows of trees and rosemary bushes, sometimes the occasional pedestrian. But on Saturday, city officials hope to see the place come to life during the city's inaugural Art Fest.
I don't think we've ever done anything like this before.
Erwin Magbanua is the city's principal librarian and cultural arts manager. He says residents can expect live music and painting, food trucks, interactive installations, and dozens of local vendors selling their artwork. Magbanua is especially looking forward to the live painting.
And we'll have 4 live painters, all local artists. That's really exciting to have our local artists do live painting throughout the day. That'll be really exciting, and I hope people really enjoy that aspect of it. It's going to be, live painting is fun to watch.
Chula Vista has a rich history of vibrant festivals, but Magbanua says this event is different because it's specifically about giving artists an opportunity to get together and share their work. He says historically, Chula Vista artists haven't had many places to do that.
For the longest time, one issue has been local artists who, when they want to show off their work, they need to leave Chula Vista.
Over the last few years, though, the city has made it a priority to support local artists, including setting aside $300,000 of federal pandemic relief money for them. They're also transforming a former YMCA building into a new art gallery. These are all steps towards the city's bigger goal of strengthening the local art scene.
We did a call for artists.
Carla Mendez is Chula Vista's community engagement specialist.
It's having opportunities for artists. It's being inclusive to the community, opening the doors so that anyone who wants to be part of the arts has a space for them.
For Magbanua, this event is also about building a new place to showcase the talent and creativity of the artist communities in Chula Vista and the South Bay.
It was always like a feeling like, well, we have to go out of Chula Vista. We have to go to San Diego. We have to go up north to see, or to show off our work. And we'd love to just literally drive down the street and just, and be with our neighbors in our neighborhood to show off our art.
He hopes this Art Fest will be the first of many more. Corey Suzuki, KPBS News.
And the Chula Vista Art Fest will be free and open to all ages. It will be held tomorrow from noon to 9 p.m. at Chula Vista City Hall. 18 San Diego breweries took home medals at the Great American Beer Festival in Colorado this weekend. As KPBS North County reporter Alexander Wynn shows us, the wins come at a time when changing tastes are affecting the craft beer industry.
For Marty Mendiola, it's business as usual. He's out on the assembly line, making sure things are operational. You wouldn't know that he's one of the winners of the Great American Beer Festival. The competition is considered the Oscars of beers. More than 9,000 beers were entered and only 300 awards were given out.
So to be part of that 3% that win a medal is just really humbling.
Mendiola is the co-founder and brewmaster at Second Chance. The 8-year-old brewery is no stranger to the festival, having won 8 medals, including 2 this year.
Second Chance Beer Company is one of 2 in San Diego that won multiple awards at the Great American Beer Fest.
Mendiola says that's because Second Chance has sound brewing techniques and consistent quality.
To win the 2 this year and 8 over the last 8 years, for us is reaffirming that we're doing some things right and we're making some good, well-balanced, tasty beers.
These are the 2 winning beers for Second Chance, Fistful of Gummies and Tabula Rasa. Both won bronze. Tabula Rasa is an old favorite at the festival. The porter-style beer has won 4 medals in the past. But winning the prestigious competition does not necessarily translate to better sales, especially in San Diego, where IPA is still king.
Porters and stouts, as you know, are not the top sellers like an IPA or a Pilsner or lager would be. But what we do gain is reputation of quality, good brewing techniques.
The wins come at a time when the landscape for the craft brewing industry is changing. This month, the San Diego Union Tribune reported 17 local breweries closed, relocated, or consolidated last year. Eric Bruvald with the San Diego North Economic Development Council says the industry is going through a correction.
I think that, that industry expanded really rapidly and consumers are maybe shifting a little bit of their taste.
But for those brewing IPAs, the awards came at the right time.
Let's kick some ass.
Troy Smith is the brewmaster at Belching Beaver Brewery in Oceanside. Their beer, Tropical Terps, won gold. The brewery is the only gold medal winner in North County and one of 5 for San Diego.
It's been a great year for us so far. And when you find something like getting a gold medal to assure that the quality is there and the beer is there, it changes things, like it's affirmation that it's legit.
The beer is an experimental IPA.
This one just hits differently.
And was only released this spring.
It's an IPA that has the next level of flavor boost inside of it.
For Belching Beaver, the win couldn't come at a better time. The craft beer industry has come under a lot of pressure lately, from the economy to changing tastes.
Young people aren't drinking as much as the previous generation. According to a recent study from the University of Michigan, Gen Zers are drinking 20% less than millennials did at their age. Smith is certainly feeling that pressure.
We hit the pressure with the seltzer market 3 years ago. Then, RTDs really started coming about. Now you've got the NA market coming out. You've got a new generation of people who aren't drinking quite as much. So when you have something like this, it brings more attention to your brand.
But San Diego is a self-appointed capital of craft. There are more than 150 breweries in the county. Back at Second Chance, Mendiola says Arizona is an emerging market for San Diego beers.
They love San Diego beers, so that's always been a nice outlet for us.
Showing once again that San Diego is still a great beer town. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
And speaking of beer, La Mesa Oktoberfest is celebrating its 50th year this weekend. It kicked off this afternoon and runs through Sunday in the village. The free all-ages event features 3 beer gardens, kids' activities, German and international food, as well as live music.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, remembering Senator Dianne Feinstein, the longest-serving female senator in U.S. history, coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
And we end the newscast with more from Dianne Feinstein. The long-serving California senator died in Washington last night. During her re-election campaign in 2012, Senator Feinstein sat down and talked about the issues with KPBS. She also had this to say about San Diego.
Is there anything you would like to tell San Diegans in particular?
Well, I would like to tell San Diegans what a great city you have. I mean, I remember as a small child coming here, and the only thing was El Cortez Hotel on a little hill, and then there was virtually nothing except nondescript buildings around it. It is now turning into quite a beautiful metropolis. I think your wharf, I think the ships, I think the Navy ship that's been converted to be used, you know, for public, with a restaurant and tours. I think the ballpark is beautifully sited. I think your convention center, your downtown is built up. I think it's got some of the best architecture in the state. So I'm very jealous because I'm a San Franciscan. And I've always thought San Francisco was graced by God with the most beauty, but San Francisco needs some work. And I think, you know, San Diego is really, and the other thing here is people are sitting down and are compromising and are negotiating, and groups are coming together to solve problems.
All right, Senator Dianne Feinstein, thanks again.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And you can find more of our Feinstein coverage and all of tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.